Salt is needed by human body. We need salt because salt supplies us sodium. Sodium is essential for survival. If the level of sodium in our body drops, many parts of our body, many cells, many organs cannot work. For example, if the blood level of sodium drops down, a person may get confused. He cannot remember. He might even become drowsy. Some of them may become comatose. Of course, anything has to be in the right proportion. If we take too much, and if too much of sodium accumulates, it is also quite harmful to the body. How much sodium do we need? There is an institute in America called the National Institute of Nutrition. They have studied all over the world, and they have found that a human being, irrespective of which part of the world he lives, needs 500 milligrams of sodium in 24 hours. That's the requirement. How much do we take? 1 gram of salt, that is sodium chloride, will give us 500 milligrams of sodium. Because 1 gram is 1000 milligrams of sodium chloride, and 500 milligrams of sodium you will get in 1 gram. Many people thought that people who live in semi-tropical, tropical countries like us, we might be sweating more, and therefore we might need 2 or between 2.5 grams of sodium chloride. But our brothers who live on the coastal area, Konkan, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Bengal, they all consume anything between 12 to 15 grams of salt per day. And we usually consume between 10 to 12 grams of salt per day, which is easily 5 to 7 times more than what we need. How does this salt get into our system? Firstly, when we start eating our food, we take a helping of salt in our plate itself. And then on the left hand side of our plate, we add all kinds of foods which are rich in salt. There may be papad, there may be achar, there may be chutney, there may be whatever it is, but they all contain salt. Then many of us like to add salt on the tomato, on the cucumber, on the rice, on curds, on buttermilk. So we keep on adding salt to whatever we eat. And you go to somebody's place, he will give us either something salted to eat, sev, gati, samosa, bhaji, chura, prasad. They are all rich in salt. The Indian system of cooking is also very conducive to eat salt. Whereas in the West, salt may not be added while the food is being cooked and is taken on the table, so that molecules of salt are there on top of the food and the food does not absorb the salt. Whereas we add salt while the food is being cooked, and the salt dissolves in water. That water permeates into every cell of the food that we eat, and our food is soaked with salt. So therefore we consume an enormous amount of salt, much more than what we do. Then what happens? The extra salt that we consume, the kidneys are required to throw it out. Partly it is thrown out in the sweat, but very little. Most of it is thrown out in the kidneys. And then as we all become slightly old and the salt tends to accumulate in our body, problems arise. One of the first things that will happen is that the person may get a little swelling, beginning at the dorsum of his feet, near his ankles, and then that swelling is usually at its maximum around underneath the eyes early morning, because the man has been horizontal the whole night, and in the evening his feet will become swollen. So he gets into the train in the evening at Deccan. By the time he reaches Pune, he can't put his feet into his slippers or shoes and finds it difficult. Now, that salt which is there was because of too much of consumption of salt, not because of there was anything wrong with his heart, or anything wrong with his kidneys, or anything wrong with his liver, or for that matter anything wrong with his body at all. But then when you go to a doctor with a swelling like that, the first thing that the doctor may do is to give you a diuretic, that is to say, a drug which will get rid of the swelling. Now when you give a diuretic, the water content of the whole body becomes less. This sets in a cycle. Then there is a mechanism in the body, again acting on the kidneys, which wants to keep the fluid balance intact. So you take a diuretic, you throw out more water, that mechanism secretes a hormone called aldosterone that retains water. You take a diuretic, throw it out, the aldosterone will retain it. Every day there will be in and out, and that swelling will never go because that kind of cycle will keep on occurring. What is needed is just reduce the salt intake. And by reducing salt intake, begin by first don't take salt on the plate, then don't eat added salt to the diet. And whatever salt that comes in the cooking is alright. You keep on taking that till such time that even that is too much for you. So that by and large, we will say, we are consuming far in excess of what we need. And therefore, we need to reduce the salt. And what we can do is, at least don't take excessively salted food as snacks or for any other purpose that you may be wanting to take. Next item that goes with salt is water. How much water do we need? Every person's need for water is different. Does it make any difference if you take water while you are eating your food? Now, our intestines are secreting intestinal juices, and in 24 hours, we secrete 10 liters of intestinal juice in our intestines. They are secreted, they do their job, they reabsorb. That cycle keeps on going. In our kidneys, 180 liters of urine is formed in 24 hours, enormous amount, and of that 178.5 liters is reabsorbed, and only 1.5 liters is available for discard. So there is this cycle going on all the time, formation, absorption. We're talking about intestinal tract. 10 liters of juices will be produced. Now whether in those 10 liters you add 1 glass of water while you take your meal, or 2 glasses of water, which is another 200 ml, makes no difference. It all depends upon your habit. If you are habituated to take water while you are taking your meal, take it. If you are not habituated, don't take it. It doesn't matter at all. And everybody's water intake is different. It is easily governed and reflected by the thirst a person feels, and it is best is to get guided by that. Do not try to drink excess water thinking that that is good for you. There is nothing good or nothing bad. All this is. Now, if there is a person who has to get up at night to pass urine more often than what he would like to, what he can do is drink water from the time he wakes up till 4 o'clock. Then from 4 to 6, he can drink water if he feels thirsty. After 6 in the evening till he sleeps, he can only gulp a few morsels of water only if required. Then he will not be required to get up at night to pass urine. Should he drink hot or should he drink cold water? On the back of our throat, we have some cells which can sense the temperature of the water. If the cells sense that you are drinking cold water, then that sensation is transmitted to a part of the brain which promptly decides that the thirst is quenched. So if you feel thirsty and you will drink cold water, your thirst will quench early. If you drink warm water, thirst will not be quenched early. Warm water has one advantage. Warm water, as we drink inside and go down the cool pipe down below, reflexively it dilates our bronchi so that breathing becomes easy. So supposing somebody has any kind of breathing problem, the right thing to do is to drink something hot at that time. Now supposing you were to drink a very light cup of hot tea, ideal, because the hot tea contains substances which also dilate bronchi, so it's a good thing to take a cup of hot tea, or else you can take hot water, add a little honey or add a drop or two of fresh ginger juice and keep on drinking like that every 2-3 hours, then he will be better off. But it is very necessary to know one very elementary thing. Whatever is the temperature of the food that you eat, whether you drink hot water, whether you drink cold water, whether you eat ice cream, whether you eat tea, that temperature is only there till the first foot or a foot and a half over the intestinal tract. In no time, that temperature gets readjusted to the body temperature, or body temperature, let us say 98.6. Then whatever you take will become 98.6 in a matter of 5 or 10 minutes. It will not stay. It's not that if you drink a hot cup of tea, it will remain hot till it is passed out. Never, not like that. It is easily getting adjusted, so that whatever advantages and disadvantages it will do, it will be only for the first few minutes. That's about all. And therefore the need will be very, very variable. There are young children, usually up to the age of 14, 15, generally not after 15, once in a while it is possible, who do bedwetting at night. For them, the reason why they did bedwetting was not understood till recently. Now it is known that we have a gland at the base of our brain called the pituitary gland. This pituitary gland secretes a number of hormones. One of the hormones that the pituitary gland secretes is called antidiuretic hormone. Now, normally, in a normal person, the pituitary secretes a large quantity of antidiuretic hormone from late evening throughout the night till early morning. This has something to do with the activity of the pineal gland, which senses the light. And the pineal gland, as soon as it starts sensing there is not enough light, it stimulates the pituitary to secrete the antidiuretic hormone. And when antidiuretic hormone is secreted, less and less and less urine is produced. In fact, throughout the 8 hours at night, a person would not produce even 1/3 or 1/4 of the urine that he would produce during the 8 hours during the day. Now this mechanism becomes slightly inefficient, and the pituitary gland fails to produce antidiuretic hormone, and therefore a lot of urine is produced. It fills up the bladder, and the bladder is filled up. The child cannot know it and will pass it in the bed. It's not the child's fault. It's pointless getting angry with the child. In fact, any mental tension might make it worse. So the child has got a kind of a feeling that, my God, I might pass urine today during the bed and somebody is going to scold me. It will make matters worse. The right thing for that child would be drink liquid only from morning till 4 o'clock and nothing after that, so that the amount of liquid produced will be less. But the correct treatment is, you get this antidiuretic hormone in the form of a spray. You take that spray once in the morning and once in the evening, because it has an action for 12 hours, and that will allow sufficient antidiuretic hormone in the system so that the child will not produce so much urine. And most of these these treatments are required only till the child is 13, 14. Normally it is not required after 50. That's the maximum that may be required. That is as far as water is concerned. There are concepts that some combinations of foods are good or bad. As I mentioned last time, all different varieties of foods are outside of the human body. Whether this is mango, or this is guava, or this is papaya, or this is rice or wheat, we label them outside the human body. Once we bite, chew them and goes into the intestinal tract and get converted into digested fluid, there is just no way of knowing from where it has come. And supposing if a molecule, let us say of glucose is absorbed from that, and another person a molecule of glucose is absorbed from, let us say, chicken or mutton or whatever, there is just no way of knowing from where it has come. So that a person who is a vegetarian or a person who is eating meat, there is no difference as soon as the food enters his body. But we have religious ideas, and we therefore our religion tells us what to do, what not to do, and we are governed by that, and we think that something is right and something is wrong, and we follow accordingly. But it makes no difference at all what we do or what we don't, whether we eat vegetarian or we eat non-vegetarian. It is immaterial as far as the human body is concerned.